Hello everyone and welcome to Kerbal Space Program, where I continue work on my Interstellar system heat mod, and I need to make clear that the reason it's called that is not because it is for going interstellar. It is because it is combining the logic of KSP Interstellar in terms of how it sets up its parts with system heat compatibility. So it's just using that logic and that sort of part configuration, but making it system heat compatible. So you can use it for not going interstellar as well. So that came up in the comments, so I wanted to make that clear. But this time, what I have to offer is a new kind of reactor. This is a nuclear thermal reactor, a nuclear thermal rocket reactor. And in this case, it has 20% highly enriched uranium, and it is a high temperature reactor. So it's going like 2,900 Kelvin, which is pushing it a little bit. But it does allow it to be a little bit smaller. So, and also get better efficiency. It gets 900 seconds of ISP like that. So, the thing about the NTR reactors is that they're not like the normal reactors. They are able to output quite a lot of heat quickly. And that's good because we need thrust. If you just put the normal reactor, this is the normal one, this is the fast spectrum reactor that I had before, it can last 4.2 years, but the downside of that is it's not outputting that much energy at any given time, per second. This one can output quite a lot per second, but its full power life is only 9.3 hours. Not that you should be using it for that long anyway. So I mean, right now it's like 25 minutes or whatever, something on that order of magnitude. So, yeah, 9.3 hours should be more than enough. And so that's the trick. You can't really use it for electricity generation very well. If you did try, you would have to, put the reactor throttle down. Now, with it throttled down, you can get 900 hours with it. But it's still a fairly short amount of time. And then, of course, you have to slap a appropriate generator along with it. So, detail-wise, I have a little turbo pump there. The turbo pump is run from the hydrogen going through the reactors. So part of the hydrogen gets used to run the turbo pump. It's, I guess, expander cycle like that. And then that's that. So we pump through, and of course at the bottom it looks like it's heading into a nozzle instead of closing off, so it's not completely sealed. It does generate heat, but I need to get people's input on how much heat it should generate. Right now 0.1% of its total output is being generated as heat, so you can't escape that much heat, which is small compared to your regular reactors. And one thing I've had to do is worry about whether this is going to end up being too cheaty for people. Like, they're going to use this to cheat their way around and generate power with this, because it is capable of phenomenal power, right? I mean, if we did put a generator here, one attached reactor, activate reactor, even with it throttled down to 1%, it's got a system flux of 5 megawatts. And so, well, you need to bump up this thing. We could generate more. Ultimately, the generator actually becomes the heavy part. This reactor is no longer going to be the heavy part. The downside is that you are going to have this really heavy generator, but the reactor is not going to last too long, right? Right now, if it was 10%, right now maybe 5% here, this can barely handle that kind of power, and it's only going to last whatever it is, 180 hours, so 7.5 days. So, not ideal. So that's how I've managed it. Now, as far as the thermal rocket nozzle is concerned, I've nerfed it a little bit so that its top thrust is a little bit lower for a given size. So right now this is a good match. We could probably scale it down a little, right about there. About 1 meter scale is going to fit this. So that's how it is right now. I'm sorry, I'm not matching skills the way KSP Interstellar does. I might reconsider that. So that's 2 tons. 2 tons for a 122 kilonewton NTR is pretty good, but that's not including the radiators that I'm imposing. So once we put on the radiators, let me maybe get the radiators and put them directly on the reactor just so that we can get an integrated way of looking at it. So that is about 2.44 tons. Still not too bad. That's a pretty good thrust weight ratio for an NTR. If you scale it up, Nerva is about 3 times the thrust, so we end up with about a 7.5 ton Nerva. So this is outperforming that by a bit. I don't know if people will approve of that. There is another caveat. Let's take this outside and see how it goes. Right now, if you take a look at the heat management, it'll look horrible. The reason it looks horrible is because it's not taking into account the thermal nozzle properly. And I don't know how to make it take into account the thermal nozzle properly. I've encountered quite a few problems as it is. One thing you can do is, like I said, it's 0.1%. So if the system flux is 6 megawatts, the actual system flux is going to be 600 kilowatts. Or if you have it at full, just knock it down by a factor of 1,000 and it's that, 600 kilowatts. So anyway, just for safety's sake, I'm going to keep the reactor at 1% just at the start. Yeah. Now, maybe I should just turn it off for now. Alright, let's go outside. There have been other problems, and the main problem is about starting the engine. The whole thermal nozzle thrust is being read on the fly, but it sort of has to initialize in the right way. And I've had trouble with that. In one case, it would initialize properly by normal staging, but not when I clicked Activate Engine. Right now, when I try to do normal staging, it doesn't activate the nozzle, but it'll be fine when I do Activate Engine like this. So that's not ideal. It's been a bit of a problem, and I'm still working on that, which is why I'm not going to release this just yet. The job for today is that I need your input about how much heat the NTR should generate. So, like I said, it's currently 1/1000th of the total amount of thermal output it's capable of. So when we activate engine, it's going to heat up pretty quickly. We can use the thrust, and that will limit it. Now its system flux is 6 kilowatts because it's down to 1%. If we turn it off, it's suddenly 6 megawatts. So that's the difference. That's the 1/1000th we're talking about here. Because the hydrogen is cooling the reactor. The hydrogen is taking the heat out. And it's really, really good at that because it's going really, really fast through the reactor. So it's only 6 kilowatts, but then we go up and then it's the full, well, initially it'll go up to the peak that these radiators can handle, which is 2 megawatts, but then it'll settle down as 600 kilowatts. So that's what I've got it set to right now. And then we get our 122 kilonewtons. That's all right. But we've got this quirk with the activate engine thing. I wonder... Yeah, I mean, well, just staging like that isn't going to work. But anyway, we can just keep going like that. But we better watch out. That just let the loop temperature get really hot. I don't know if there's any impact in system heat to having the loop temperature get really hot. I'm maybe missing that factor on these reactors, and that I should be making sure that they blow up when the or shut down when the loop temperature gets too hot. But I guess I haven't quite got that down yet. We can let it cool down or something. The best way to let it cool down is to keep the thrust going, in fact. And then also throttle down the reactor. But anyway, that is how it works right now. And so that's how this NTR reactor does. If we upped the highly enriched uranium factor, right now it's 20%, we could have, like 90% highly enriched uranium. That would allow the reactor to be scaled down. That means that it requires fewer fuel elements, and then a smaller reactor could generate more power. But it's not that much. I mean, it's not like a straight percentage equals size kind of thing. What it does is right now this reactor portion is about 1.5 tons. If we bump this up to 90%, it'd be more like 1.1 tons. So that's the factor. And then at that level, we're talking about 1.1 tons providing 122 kilonewtons. And then there's the mass of the nozzle and the radiators. But just for the reactor, that would be a very high, that's like a thrust weight ratio of 10. But then with the nozzle, you're once again back at a thrust weight ratio of like 5. So not unreasonable for an NTR. So that is how it is working right now. And again, it's possible to switch fuels. Of course, right now we're not carrying the methane. And when I do that, this is going to explode in temperature as the system flux is 264 megawatts. And so that's not going to be great. But I need to impose some appropriate horror when that happens. I haven't got that shutting down. We've got some weird duplication here going. I've got some bugs to work out. Let's face it. I've got some bugs to work out. Let's at least see. Does the console have an issue? The console doesn't have an issue. So at least we don't have an issue here. But it probably shouldn't be showing so many liquid hydrogens there. So when I click next propellant, it seems like it multiplies things maybe. I'm not sure. I just noticed that one. I didn't notice that before. So yeah, maybe it'd be better just to be honest, the way it was when it was reading the right thrust through regular staging but the wrong thrust when I used activate engine, overall had fewer issues than the way it does right now. And I might be like, maybe we should just stage with activate engine. Stage with the regular staging with spacebar instead of do activate engine, but I'll have to think about that. It's a matter of how it catches the ISP, and right now it's going all over the place. So anyway, but tell me what you think about how much power will need to be, how much heat needs to be dealt with by the radiators when we're running an NTR. What's your preference? These are OP for it right now. They're 2 megawatts and we only need 600 kilowatts. For some reason, tweak scaling on the Stirling Systems radiators doesn't work again for me. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Speaking of things that have bugs, but yeah, tweak scaling on the inside the VABs or SPH, the dialogue says that the tweak scaling is working, but in flight for those radiators it doesn't seem to. So, and then for the ones I did, so somebody had sort of complained about that. I think mine's does do it properly, but maybe I should double check on that. So here, let's get the reactor going. So here it says -2 megawatts. Here it says 250 kilowatts. So let's get it to the 600 kilowatts, let's say. Okay, this is about 600 kilowatts. Let's see. See, the flux is -2 megawatts because it's capable of that, and it's trying to get it down to 900 Kelvin. But it shouldn't be capable of doing that because I had tweak scaled it down so that I could only do 600 kilowatts. So the tweak scaling isn't working on that one. But that's not my mod. Let me see one of mine and see if it's working or not. Okay, my huge arrow ship radiators. This is a lot. But they have tweak scale on them too. But that's 100 megawatts. Let's throttle this down here. Okay, so I'm gonna tweak scale them down and see if that works. it should only be 25 megawatts, which is a lot, and more than we need when the engine is running. When the engine's not running, it's definitely less than we need. But let's see if it's 25 megawatts outside. Well, see, 25 megawatts. It's set normally to 100 megawatts, but it is doing 25 megawatts. So I don't know what's up with the other radiators. Okay, fine, 26 apparently here. And if I bump this up, it's not going to be able to handle it. Yep, that's fine. Alright, so anyway, I've got a lot to try and figure out as far as these silly things are concerned, and the wacky way the thermal nozzle is working, or sometimes not working. So I will continue to deal with those problems, and perhaps you can tell me exactly how much heat should an NTR need to dissipate. 0.1% is pretty darn low, but it still results in us needing some decent sized radiators if we're going to have something the size of Nerva, which, you know, would be more like this size. 335 kilonewtons. So you would need to get the nozzle about that big. Still not huge. That's 5.7 tons without the radiators with this setup. So, yep, that is the progress on Interstellar system heat. With that, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.